Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. And Ish, it is April 18th. We got another off-season podcast, more transfer news to cover. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, it's been kind of a whirlwind of transfer news as far as like big and small. We've got to figure out who's staying with who's on whose team still, but who's getting certain players. So yeah, it's been probably the busiest time as far as transfers is concerned.
Yeah, and we got to start figuring out like who's on these teams now.
Yep.
That's the hardest part is tracking everything. I should probably have some sort of spreadsheet for this, but we'll work that out later. We'll stay with the big teams this week because they're still making some really, really big moves, and I think this is
Mhm.
like potential like conference implications in terms of like conference championships and so on and so forth. I
Right.
want to start with Baylor. Baylor men's basketball. We talked a little bit about the women last week, but they have turned over their entire roster, like
Yes.
0 to 12, zero returners are back. And I tweeted this. I was like, good for Scott Drew not being scared of a complete reset, because I think a lot of
Yep.
coaches at his level would be like, I can make it work. I can figure something out.
Mhm.
Like we can do this again. I just need a couple pieces. Like, no, top to bottom reset, no returners. They've already gone to the portal for several pieces. Um, they I watched Tunde Yesufu at the Hoop Summit be one of the best players on the court as a
Mhm.
signee for them. So he looks like he can come in and contribute immediately. And so with that, we talked about last podcast, JJ White. We talked about Michael Rataj, Obi Agbim, all those players, all 4-star transfers coming in. Since then, they've had Caden Powell from Rice and Bodo Bodo. I don't the first name, Justin Bodo Bodo from High Point, who was the defensive player of the year in that conference, and then Dan Skillings from
Yep.
Cincinnati, a wing, who I know LSU was also in on as well. So from that group, I guess three
Yeah.
new names to add from the ones we talked about last
Caden
week.
Powell as well from Rice.
Yes, Caden Powell from Rice. Which of those groups, or which of those three, stands out to you? Do you think Powell can be a contributor, Bodo
Yeah.
Bodo, or where do you go with that?
I kind of go, I do lean on, I think I lean on Bodo Bodo a little bit because both him in combination with Caden Powell,
Mm-hmm.
I think Scott Drew realizes that his team was small, right? And his team needed a lot of inside presence. And even when you look at, I don't know how exactly the thought process went into how he kind of designed the roster the past couple of years, but I wouldn't be shocked if like he looked around, he was like, "Hey, we won a national title with Mark Vital. Like we can figure out how to make things work." But and I don't think it's as simple as that, but like I do think that he didn't. I think they underestimated how much size would play a factor in
Yeah.
the fact that they didn't have guys over 6'9", right, over 6'8", really. And the guys that they did have in years past, right, Jonathan Chamachachua, players like that, Yves Massey, right, either someone like Jonathan Chamachachua obviously broke down and wasn't able to play as much as they needed him to, or Yves Massey, he was the only one they had, right, and so like they played a lot, and so I do think there's no coincidence that you look at what the guys they've added, and they go and get Caden Powell 6'10", Bodo Bodo 6'11", Michael Rataj 6'7", right? Daniel Skillings, who can kind of play wing and and
Yeah.
hold it in 6'6", right? So I think that Scott Drew is looking at the team now, and he's looking at how Baylor's been beat before in the past couple years specifically, and he says, "Okay, we've been bullied a little bit, right? Like we can't physically match up with Houston at times, right? And it's like, okay, we need some bodies who can match up with Houston. We need some more physical wings that can maybe take the bumps that Houston's going to give us. Or now that we're seeing Tech get into their own, we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State getting more physical. So it's like I don't look. I look at this team now. It's like, okay, yeah, it doesn't shock me that he went, especially after losing Rob Wright. We're like, okay, we can just scrap everything and just figure out what we can do.
Yeah, last year they were 234th on KenPom in average height.
Mhm.
And they've kind of been, like you said, they won the national title, not being the biggest team. But the thing is, when you go into games as the smaller team, you have so much less margin for error,
Yeah.
defensively, especially, right? Because we've seen them have to toy with different lineups and go zone and do different things to try to compensate for just not having that height.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add a guy like Bodo, who is a pure shot blocker and who is
Yeah.
6'11", that can finally like clean up mistakes, it's a huge, huge difference. Caden Powell has been one of my favorite players at Rice all
Mm-hmm.
year. And entering the year, I think I drafted him on that when we did the fantasy draft. Like I had high expectations for him out of Wyoming. And again, I don't think he's like a great player. He's definitely not going to be like a Norshad Omier replacement by any means. But
Mm-hmm.
I think he is a very good rotation big that you have on your roster. Again, this is now not only about replenishing the top end talent, but now when you have to go 1 through 13, you have to go get some players that are 7 through 9, 7 through 10
Yeah.
on there as well. So I think on paper you've gotten older, you've gotten bigger, and with Yesufu, I think you still have that star talent, star potential
Mm-hmm.
in a freshman guard. So I do like this reset quite a bit. I have them at, what is this, 3, 6, 7 players right now.
Mm-hmm.
6 transfers, 1 freshman. So they still have plenty of work to do, but this is a really good start. On 3, 5 of the 6 transfers are 4 stars. Caden Powell is the only one who isn't, but he's not far off. And so
Right.
I mean that's a really, really good haul to me to start things off with for Baylor.
Yeah.
Let's move to Texas Tech,
Let's do it.
because this is like in every sport, Texas Tech is winning the transfer portal. And I
Yes.
guess in basketball, they are doing the same thing here. They not only retained JT Toppin, which we talked about. Darian Williams is exploring the draft and the portal, so on. Did we hear anything about Chance McMillan? Is
I don't.
he's out
I
of
don't
eligibility,
think.
right?
I think he's out of eligibility.
Okay,
Right. Right.
that's what I thought. I didn't. There's so many players with eligibility exhausted that are like entering the portal.
Right.
It's kind of confused me right now.
I did
Um,
see Overton went to Auburn, which is a good pickup for them.
yeah, Overton went to Auburn again. A lot of people thought he would go down a level to try to get more shots, but he was like, "No, I'm just gonna go to Auburn and do what I just
Yeah.
did at Tech."
Yeah.
So okay. They've added 3 transfers so far: Lawan Watts, Donovan Atwell, and Tyree Bryan.
Mhm.
All 4-star transfers on 24/7. Lawan Watts is the highest rated of the group, 6'6" out of Washington State. Like that's the one for me. That's a Chance McMillan replacement right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
An
I mean,
absolute player.
yeah. I was gonna say like I think it was very clear what Graham McCastle went to the portal to do. He's like, we're getting more shooters. We're getting more guys who can create their own shot, but also if they need to just fill a role, they can all more or less be knockdown shooters. I'm trying to bring up their numbers exactly. So Donovan Atwell, excuse me, at UNC Greensboro, almost 8 threes a game attempts at almost 40%, right? 39.8% this past year. He has not shot below since he's gotten more playing time the year before, 42% from 3 on almost 7 attempts. Tyree Bryan, of course, he is more. Actually, no, same. Almost 5 attempts a game at Santa Clara, 42% from 3, right? So they realized their weakness was that once they lost McMillan, they lost that knockdown, consistent shooter that, like, obviously Overton, Curl, they can shoot, but like if McMillan's a guy who's in the corner, you're going to hope that he's the one taking that shot. Um, McCaslin just said, okay, we're just going to get we need 3 of those guys, right? We're going to get 3 of them, surround Christian Anderson, who can penetrate the lane, who can distribute, like give him shooters and let them cook. And I think like whatever they do in the front court with the Darren Williams replacement, if he does end up leaving, I think I would not be shocked if they go with a more stretch big to kind of give JT Toppin more room to operate and just kind of build the whole thing out of that 1-2 of Toppin and Anderson.
Yeah. Watts last year averaged 13.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 55% from the floor, 42% from 3. This is a high level scorer and someone that I know. I think I even heard like, will he test like the draft waters and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. I
And my
know
lights just
he's
cut off on me. That's crazy.
that's right. It didn't make too much of a difference, but
Okay.
but yeah, Watts is the one I'm really interested in. Like you said, they add shooting really across the board, and it makes sense when you have Anderson and you have Toppin to do that. And I think people have started to say, like, this is a top 5 team in the country now. And obviously the portal has has a ways to go. But I mean, when you return Toppin and Anderson and you add Watts, who I think is legitimately a Chance McMillan, at the very least replacement, if not potentially an upgrade.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to like dive into the film to like see if it's like really an upgrade, but like because I love Chance McMillan, but let's also remember they played a lot of this season with injuries, like between McMillan and Williams. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. I definitely think this is a team that on paper has the foundation to be a top 5 team, and now I'm interested to see how they round out the rest of their roster. Because I don't know, do they have any high school commits? I don't see any like
This class, no, I don't think
24/7.
so. No.
So yeah, it's all going to be portal for McCaslin and company.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about SMU because they added one of the best players in the transfer portal. And
Yes.
this is the first time we've seen Andy Enfield really flex the SMU money and his recruiting prowess, because it's not just SMU. I think he legitimately did a good job here, landing a Jerron Pierre from Jacksonville State. If it's Jaron Pierre, whatever it is, Jaron Pierre, from Jacksonville State, 21.6 points per game. He will still go through the NBA draft process. I think most of the time when that happens, they usually just go back to college, they just get some feedback and go.
Right.
So where are
Basically,
you
yeah.
at with this?
Typically, for those that don't know, typically when they say they're entering the process, that means they're doing everything but hiring an agent. And basically, what they're doing is they're looking for. Typically, they don't know exactly where their stock is, so they're going to get some feedback. Like I would assume that Darian Williams is doing exactly this, right?
Yeah.
He's probably entering the portal, going through the process. He's going to get some feedback saying, "Hey, you're probably a mid 2, early 2. To get to a 1, people want to see X, Y, and Z, and so therefore that kind of dictates where you want to go for your next stop. Where it's like, okay, do I want to go to a place where my defense is going to be asked to be a little bit better, or whatever? So, yeah, I would not be shocked if it's similar, but like you said, this is the kind of stuff that you hope that Andy Enfield would be able to bring you. I believe they also got Nana Owusu Anane from Brown, another 4-star transfer. But Jerron Pierre, like you were hoping that they would find these type of guys where they beat out. Let me see some of the teams that were in line for him, but they beat out some of the blue bloods just because they can money whip somebody and they have the power of having a team like Andy Enfield, right? Where it's like, or a player like a coach like Andy Enfield, who's like, oh, he's put guys in the NBA. Like, yeah, let's. I'll go play for him, and you're giving me money. Okay, yeah, like SMU has the ability to do that now. We'll talk a little bit about that on the women's side, how they're hoping to replicate that. But yeah, this is probably his first big get for the Andy Enfield era.
He was down to Ole Miss, Arkansas, SMU, and Auburn.
Look, I mean, those are teams that all made the second weekend, right? Other than SMU. So like you're more or less in the big leagues, and he chose SMU.
Yeah, like this is, and I do think they're able to sell him as opposed to those other 3. I think they're able to sell him as being the featured guard, which I think has to matter. Obviously, if you go to Auburn, it's kind of complicated. I do think he probably would have been a starter, but you know how Auburn will be talented again. Arkansas is going to be very talented again. Ole Miss will clearly have talent as well. So I think you're able to sell him as being the featured guard and kind of play off that. He was also in contact with Kentucky, Louisville, NC State, Bama, Kansas, Texas. So I don't want to undersell this. This is the most impactful transfer in Texas to this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think he's legitimately. I mean, this is
pound for
conference
pound,
of the year. I think in the state of Texas, this is the most impactful one. Like JT Toppin returning isn't a transfer, and yeah, I think SMU has the most impactful transfer to this point with Jaron Pierre. I think this is huge for them. It's kind of Boopy Miller plus. Like a better version of that, I think, with the scoring and the creation ability that he has. So
sure,
it is going to be a step up to the ACC, but it's not like he's going to the SEC or the Big 12. I think he'll be perfectly fine there.
Right.
All right, A&M adds Mackenzie Mbako and this is their big pickup so far. And he is rated at 94 as a 4-star transfer on 3, transfer from Indiana. They also added Zach Clemens from Kansas, who didn't really play a ton there. Jakari Lane, who a 6-foot guard who's a 3-star transfer. So they've added some other players, but Mackenzie Mbako is clearly the big name here as a top 50 player in the portal. I'm interested to see how this works because Bucky Ball so much offense, and I don't want to like just put him in a put restrictions on what he can and can't do with his talent. It's just going to be interesting because I know Kentucky was in on him. I know some other high level teams were in on him. He averaged 12.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, played 25 minutes. The 2-point efficiency went to 52.6%, and he shot 33% from 3. So again, more of a combo forward, I'd say. I think they would look to add shooting around him, but if you get him, I mean, this is a guy who was like a former McDonald's All-American and a Big Ten Freshman of the Year or a Freshman of the Year type player. So I like this pickup. What do you think of A&M getting Mackenzie Mbago?
Yeah, I mean, he was one of Mike Woodson's big gets, right? When he was at Indiana. Like, this is one of the guys that people thought that the Mike Woodson experiment would work out because he was able to pull back these high profile recruits. I like it because, like you mentioned, if Bucky Ball's going to work in the SEC, you need to have this kind of athletic. He's a little bit, I mean, undersized, I guess, but like he's so athletic and he's able to push the tempo a little bit by himself. Like he's kind of, it's interesting because he's kind of he's a forward who can move a little bit like a guard, right? But you're going to kind of want to play him at that 4 spot a little bit, just because I think he can beat a lot of guys off the dribble who are going to be playing there. He'll play the 3 a little bit, but I personally think he's best as an undersized 4. But he can get out on the break. He can push the tempo himself. Like he's that kind of guy. And I think in order to get Bucky Ball, which is a lot of pressing, a lot of forcing turnovers, and a lot of getting in transition, right? You're going to need that outlet. You're going to need that guy who's not afraid to, as soon as he sees the ball in his team's hands, he's going to sprint down the floor and beat everybody down the court. So like you need that kind of guy, and he's able to do other stuff too. But that's one of his biggest strengths is just being so kind of downhill oriented. They need somebody like that. So, and obviously, I mean, I don't think it can be understated that this probably beats, and again, 2 different strategies, but like this is the best transfer they brought in, like regardless of like buzz and like, because who's the best transfer that Buzz brought in? Like Julius Marble, maybe? Like he was good. Phelps, that was a good one. Yeah, Phelps. So I'll give Phelps and then Marble. Put this one above that. Like I think he's an established. With Phelps, we were kind of wondering like, can he be a good contributor on a really good team?
Yeah.
And he was able to be. But this one's like, oh no, this guy was wanted by everyone. Like
and he could be the best player on a good team.
Exactly. So I'm very interested in that. And I texted you, I was like, hey, look, Bucky's got some motion. Like that was one of the questions, right? Was like, can this guy from Samford recruit and coach at this level? Well, we're answering one of them.
Still reeling from Bucky has some motion.
Look, man.
Also, a Julius Marble callback. I was like, man, that is 2 years ago. It wasn't even last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like Buzz, he did do a good job of building through recruiting, high school recruiting, so he didn't need to portal a lot. But you know, when they did, it was like, it's kind of just Julius Marble and Zurich Phelps.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how A&M does. We're still waiting on Texas to really do anything like huge. We talked about it last podcast. Sean Miller brought the Xavier player back with him. So Dalen Swain. So I'm interested to see what Texas does. PJ Haggerty is in the portal. We have to talk about that. From Texas. So
I believe is he the top recruit in the portal right now? I believe
gotta be, dude. This, I mean, let me see it on threes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I was gonna check the rankings because I feel like he is. because Tim and Williams are, I know, the two 5-star, quote unquote 5-star transfer guys. I guess Yaxel Lindenberg was number one. So
Oh yeah,
at least
Yax.
on 247, Yaxel Lindenberg.
Yeah, Yax was really good. They don't have
But I mean,
Haggerty in the. Did he officially enter? I know there was that whole thing about seeing if he officially.
247 has him officially in the rankings. So I don't know if it was.
Yeah, I don't
Said,
know.
but I still,
Like,
everybody I'm seeing is entering the portal. So
okay,
yeah, I don't think he officially has yet.
regardless, but yes, regardless, this is a top. I mean, yeah, I'm taking. Like, are you taking him over Darian Williams? Because I probably am.
I think so. I think for me, I like Darren Williams a lot. I think PJ Haggerty is a lot easier to just fit into your offense, like into your team, I should say. Like,
Yeah. Because Darren Williams is the number 6 transfer portal player ranked here. So we're talking about at the very least a top 5 player in the portal for him. For I just don't know. I would love, like, Texas needs to be on the phone immediately.
Sure. Sure. 100%.
Like that, if you spend all your money on a player, bro, just go get PJ Haggerty.
I mean, I don't even know if I should mention the possibility. He's from Crosby. If you know Crosby, it's near the Houston area.
They ain't getting him.
I'm just. I'm not.
We already have
predicting
Pop Isaacs.
All right, bro. All right, bro. All right, that's the Colin Coward. PJ Haggerty.
Yeah,
we're good, Haggerty. Bro. We're good, bro. Pop Isaacs is here.
We're good. Pop Isaacs is here.
All right, bro.
The lights came.
Mentioned Pop Isaacs over here. Oh, look, yeah, then the lights are, and you mentioned Pop Isaacs. Like, hold on, what's going on?
Hold on, wake up. All
right, bro. Speaking of Houston, a little bit here. Yes. A certain player got out of his national letter of intent yesterday. I sent to you.
He did.
Shelton Henderson it was a Duke signee, 5-star out of Houston Bel Air, HISD's down, like smack dab Houston guy.
Mm-hmm.
Got out of his national letter of intent yesterday. We're recording on Friday. Thursday night, it came out that Duke was letting him out. Now, the easy money should be Miami, because Jay Lucas is the head coach there now. He was the primary recruiter. Jay Lucas literally graduated from Houston Bel Air, right? So like there's that very easy connection. Yeah. So that should be the easy money. I would not be Shelton Henderson is a Houston guy. Like, he apparently loves the city. Like, he is a prideful, like, it was a big thing because, again, Houston ISD Bel Air, not a powerhouse in basketball, right? Mm-hmm. But he led them to the state championship. They ended up losing to Duncanville, but that was a big point of pride for him. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like, I would not be shocked if there is a massive push until the last minute. I don't think this is going to be he leaves and then the next day he's at Miami. I think this is going to play out a little bit. And I'll just say I would not be shocked. Houston has some money now. Milos Uzan's left, right? I know they just re-upped Tugler, so Tugler's back, but like, there's some money hanging around, and I know that they wanted him before he committed to Duke, like, badly. Because again, inner city guy, you want him to stay home. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a little bit more of a play here, and it's not just overnight he's going to Miami. I still would put Miami as the favorite, but from what I'm hearing, they're going to make a pretty interesting push to try and get him.
Yeah. And they've already shown they have the money to pay freshmen with the 3 that they have committed so far.
I was about to say, I'm trying to find the rankings again.
I mean, Harwell's top 10, if not top 5 in some.
Senac is 7. Top 10.
Yeah. And then the other one is
Kingston Fleming's is around 20, top 25.
Yeah.
So 25. Yeah, I mean, you'd add in 247, and I don't know about, let me see, at least in 247, Henderson is a 14th on 3.
I think he's a little lower. I think he's top 25. I don't remember exactly though.
Anyway, regardless. And also, let me mention this. He also plays a position that Houston could really value. He's that wing forward type that they haven't really had in a while. Like, where it's like this is going to sound like an insane comparison, but like physically, comparatively to like the high school level when I saw him play, it's a very LeBron like build where it's like he's too big to be handling the ball like that. So again, I'm not comparing him to the, but like play style, it's that type of guy. So like obviously everybody would like that type of guy, but Houston in particular, like that's a scary possibility. Him
Yeah,
with Tugler and that physicality.
it gets to the rim exceptionally well. We all saw that in high school.
Yeah.
Um,
So we'll keep an eye on
it,
that one.
it would be fascinating, and we'll save it for if it does happen. If he
Yeah.
does go to Houston, we almost have a Fab Five situation here.
I mean, straight up, almost like
Like that's a Duke level freshman class.
yeah. And
And it's
again,
probably
the
like
ones that they don't fill, the positions they don't fill, you have Joseph Tugler and you have
Emmanuel
Emmanuel
Sharp.
Sharp. Like that's okay. That's okay. So Flemings comes off the bench, awesome. Like that's fine. I'm very fascinated if they fill that hole with him
You know what I
because
was thinking
the
of?
team becomes very fun. What's
Yeah,
up?
you know what I was thinking of was we talked about Pop Isaacs
Yeah,
at point guard. I think we might have moved on too quickly from the fact that Flemings and Harwell as freshmen could come in and play very significant minutes at the point guard position.
sure, yeah, that's very
And
fair.
Isaacs, as we know, is probably more of a two guard anyways.
Hmm.
So maybe they do bump him down to the two with Sharp because kind of then it would really be an LJ Cryer replacement, put him at the two and then just play
Right.
Harwell and Flemings at the one. I know that's two freshmen. You don't I guess, love it, but
Mm.
I mean, that makes more sense to me than putting Pop at the one as an Uzan replacement than anything else.
I think we'll see a lot of Emmanuel Sharp on the ball next year.
Mhm.
To start, especially to start. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts with a Flemings or starts with a Harwell, and then they just kind of have a 50-50 type
Yeah.
deal. But yeah, I agree. I do think that the easy answer is Isaacs at the two, and as the Cryer replacement as opposed to making him run the offense per se.
Yeah. Real quick, Jada Malone went to Texas Tech, which I do think is notable. About 10 points per game from Texas A&M last year. Went
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Texas Tech. So in the Big 12, at least Texas Tech will have a big who is comparable and can compete with the TCU Baylors, the so on
yeah,
and so forth. So I did like that for Texas Tech. And then real quick, did you have any reaction to the WNBA draft? I think we had 4 players drafted.
yeah.
Um, Haley Van Lith, first round to the sky. Second round, we had, I know, Koulibaly to the sky.
Hmm.
And then third round, we had Madison Connor to Seattle and Aaronette Vonleh to the Wings.
Yeah, I did like Von Lego on the wings. Of course, being up
Hmm.
here in Dallas, it's good. Again, the WNBA is weird. Like 60% of these players probably aren't going to make the roster. It's just how
Yes.
the nature of the sport is. But for somebody like a Von Lay to get the experience with that front court, right? Learn from Tierra McCown, learn from a lot of those players. But I mean, I think obviously the highlight's going to be Haley Van Lith at Chicago. That's a very, very fun team, reunited with Angel Reese now, Camila Cardoso now on that team. Like, that's a genuinely really fun team. And I'm very fascinated. Who they also got did they also get somebody else, or was that their first pick? That might have just
They
been
got
no.
a Slovenian.
Yeah, the Slovenian who went right before her. But
Yeah.
still, like that's an interesting team. I have no idea if that team's gonna gel, exactly. But like I look on paper and I'm like, they also have Kennedy Carter, and I was like, okay, like this team's has some players, and I think I think it does slot into a pretty needed role, right? Because I think they got Courtney Vandersloot as well on that team. So like as like a
Yeah.
protege to her, kind of moving into that point guard role. We'll see. And you mentioned Koulibaly as well. Again, we'll see if she makes the roster. I think that they fit on the team on paper, and it's just about kind of again the nature of the sport is kind of showing enough to where you're worth gambling on over some of these veteran players who
Yeah.
have kind of maintained the hold on the league for a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Obviously, the hope is, as the league continues to expand,
Yeah,
players continue to make it and so on and so forth because the
yep.
talent is a little more
I
spread out.
believe Toronto is opening up soon because this was the first draft with Golden State, the
Yeah.
Valkyrie, and then I think Toronto's next year or in the next year after that. I couldn't remember, but
Mhm.
Toronto's next. So yeah, hopefully once these rosters open up more, we'll start to see a little bit more names like this. Because I think that was a couple years ago where like I mean some first rounders will get cut before
Oh,
training camp.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, a couple of first rounders will be probably cut this year, even
Sure.
as
Yeah, that's a good
bad as it
point.
sounds. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting. I did want to give them a shout out though. And our girl Paige is coming home to
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yes,
So
finally.
we
We
get you
get, we get,
tickets.
I
I
think
got one of
I
my
think
friends in
somebody I saw a
Dallas.
tweet. I saw a tweet that said,
But
close enough. Welcome back, Luka Doncic."
I saw that. I saw that. I saw that. One of my friends a couple of my friends were like, "Man, we gotta get those Wings versus Fever tickets." Good luck.
Yeah, and the
Good
AAC,
luck.
man. Oh, buddy. I
Good
can let
luck.
me, I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm gonna see how much these are going for right now. I'm gonna,
What's going
unfortunately,
on?
be out of town, because that's state 7-on-7, literally the same day, which I'm very upset about. But, um, yeah, it was very funny that that game moved even before they got paid. It was like in February, where
Yeah.
it was like, hey, by the way, this game's being played in the AAC. And it was like, oh, I wonder why that is. Let me see. Do they have on sale? Oh, yeah, they do. They are on sale. All right, buy now. What do we got here? Oh Lord, let me see.
These resellers are going crazy.
I
The
was about to say these.
WNBA, the days of the WNBA being those nice little cheap tickets you can get in on, and
Ooh, okay, let's see. Get in price. Oh my, 255. Get in price. That's crazy, bro.
oh my gosh, I think I can get
That's
a NBA playoff
crazy,
ticket for
dog.
less.
That's great. Dude, I went to a Wings game, and again, this is at College Park, but still, that should warrant more.
Yeah,
Theoretically, it should be
demand's
more
lower,
expensive
or
because
the
it's a
supply is
smaller
lower.
venue. Yeah,
Yes.
I think I paid like $40 for my ticket. I think I paid $40, and we were like lower bowl because again, it's College Park, so it's like maybe 1.5 levels.
Yeah.
Um, let me see how much 100 level is right now for this game. $500, bro.
Start saving up.
Oh, bro.
Start
Oh, that
saving
is
up, Ish.
crazy, dog.
You should just be a season ticket holder and then just sell them.
These talented young players are ruining our game, man.
Just
They're making the game
get them
more
out of
expensive.
here.
And get them out of here. Cayman and Page, get out of here.
I want to go back to College Park where I can get it for $30 and
Seriously.
sit 5 feet away from them.
I wouldn't be shocked if when the Sky come they move the game, right? Because like that's Angel Reese, that's Haley Van Lith. Like that's gonna be a thing too. Kennedy Carter's from Texas. Like that's gonna be
Yeah.
a thing too. There's gonna be multiple games I think played at the AC this year,
Hmm.
which is nuts.
Interesting. Yes, that's great. All right. That's all we got for y'all today. Covered
Yep.
the latest transfer portal stuff. We'll be back next week to do some more. Probably start having some guests on here to talk about
Yep.
different reporters on to talk about their teams and transfer portal and stuff like that. So stay tuned for all that. We appreciate y'all for joining us. Leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening, and we will talk to y'all later.